big update here. Ursula's having fuel system problems. I'm trying to get them sorted out. I ordered a whole bunch of parts to go and make the changes to a staged fuel pump system. Just because, you know, the setup we have isn't really ideal. So I'm driving into the shop so I can do that after work today. And I'm like halfway there and it feels like it's running out of gas. So whenever I started it up this morning, the pump was real noisy. I've got that 535 liter per hour, basically like the Hellcat pump. And I've had it in there for a while, but when I started the car this morning, the pump was like, and I was like, okay, that's not sounding good. I wasn't sure if it was gonna make it to work because it was running real bad. But then it kind of cleared up, and then about a few minutes ago, it literally like died basically on the road. And then it came back, so I'm halfway there. I hope I can make it to the shop. Wideband is just chilling on 17. Exhaust is popping, bucking. Current wideband situation. All right, this is our turn. We made it. Yeah. Greetings, folks. Steve here and Matt, my guy, right here. And we are working on Ursula here. And today we are at the shop, putting in some work on Ursula. She's been seriously neglected. And as you saw just a moment ago, fuel pump was failing on me on the way in this morning. We've had like leaning out problems, all kinds of shitty issues with this thing. And we are sorting that out now. So the 535 liter per hour pump that's in there, it's a Hellcat pump, has seemingly taken a shit on us. So we got to sort that out. We also have a 450 liter per hour pump that we were running previously. That's still good. So we're going to throw that in the tank too and run them staged. The second pump is going to be run off of a hop switch on the boost pipe. So at about 4 PSI, second pump will kick on. And we're going to have enough fuel system to
make some stank.
To send pistons into orbit for sure. But that's the plan right now. I'm gonna take this opportunity to give you a little tour of the shop. This is actually our
new shop.
We've had some late nights hanging out up here so far, but this is really our first time putting in work on the car. And it's a balmy 85 degrees in here or so, but it's about
compared to the balmy
100 degrees outside. So we get a little bit of air conditioning that kind of keeps us a little bit more comfortable, and that's been lovely. So we're gonna definitely get this thing straightened out today, but let's walk around and just show you the place. This is not our Datsun over here. This is a S30 that we got in the shop that we're doing trying to get it back up and running. It hasn't ran in a long time, so we're going through the fuel system and just kind of seeing what all it needs to get back up and going. Now let me show you my dude, my new dude, big competition for Matt. This is my guy, Matthew. You know I got a thing for Matts, especially if they're tall and thinning up top. Then Matt's working on his C6 Corvette here. He's got an axle leak that he's trying to sort out on that. And here's some of the cars we got working on that we've been working on lately. Magnum SRT8, we got a Gen 5 Viper. We do a whole lot of Viper work here. This is a Datsun Fairlady. And then we got an Evo over there. We also do quite a bit of Evo related work here also.
Seems to have been Evo and Datsun week this week. Yeah, we love.
We had like 3 Evos here in one day. And there's always Vipers hanging around.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is the big side of the shop. It's kind of split up. It's got like a wall right here that divides the two areas. We got an office over there that has office desks and such. But yeah, so this is the new abode. And I'll show you what we're working with on the Lexus. We got some new parts in for the fuel system to get this all sorted out. And here's what we're working with. All right, so on our table here, you'll see a new fuel pressure regulator. You'll see some PTFE-10 hose and also some PTFE style fittings. We got a fuel filter, and this is our 450 pump. This is used. It was in the car for a while, but it's going back in tonight. I expected to run it with the bigger pump, but since the pump totally shit out on me this morning, I went ahead and ordered another 450. So we'll have 2 check valved E85 safe 450 pumps, and then this is going to be our hob switch that's actually going to kick on the second pump whenever the time comes. When I did all the wiring harness under the hood, I actually added provisions for the staged pump. Somewhere one of these harnesses follows this pipe and goes down there, so we'll be mounting the hob switch there. The wiring's already there, and we are going to be using the ABS relay. So one of these relays, I can't remember which one. I'm gonna have to go through some of my notes. One of the ABS relays is gonna be controlled commanded on by the hob switch. We need to locate the wires for that and run them back to the tank. But we should be able to get most of this done tonight. I'm hoping to at least drive it home. Worst case scenario, Matt can give me a ride home because he lives in that direction also. So Matt's up here removing our old $20 pressure regulator.
Yeah. It took us through some years.
That took us into the deep 11s. So while he works on replacing that regulator, I'm going to be pulling the hanger assembly out of the back here so that we can start fabricating a way to mount 2 pumps. We need to still retain our scavenge pump to make sure we're transferring fuel from that side of the tank over here, because this is a saddle tank. So we definitely need our return. We're going to just keep this return the way it is, and I'm going to basically just destroy everything else about this pump in order to run some two new wires to it and our big 10 AN fitting. All right, so we found an issue. The hose that transfers to the other side was busted. It was like cracked halfway across, big crack. And so I suspect we may have just had a fuel transfer problem. I got off the pump, our 535 liter per hour pump, and put it in some water and tested the flow. And I mean, it shot 6 feet out of this thing. I clogged it down with my thumb to make sure it was going to be able to build pressure, and it was pushing my thumb off and squirting across the room. So I don't think this is a bad pump. We found a lot of sediment. There's like this, it's like this filthy sandy junk in the tank. And maybe that's something that is like the byproduct of E85 eating away something in the tank. I'm not sure, but it's coated, and the screen is totally coated with it. And this thing was like totally like bent up like that, like stuck on the level center assembly. So really a lot of things looked out of sorts in here, but I think this pump's okay. So I think we'll be good to send it with our 450. 450 has a check valve. This one does not, which means this one has to be our main pump that we run off of, because when this one's off, we don't want fuel back feeding back through it. So that'll be the standby pump. This will be the main pump. Okay, so I've been working on this monstrosity for a minute. So I got both pumps on the hanger. There's a height constraint. It can't be too tall, so I had to do like loops with these lines. I'm not sure how these steel braided hoses are going to be submerged in the 85, but we're going to find out because it's what I have. But that's all set up. I got my dash 10 outlet up on the top, and this is my quantum bulkhead, and it's pretty cool how it works. So you run the two 12 gauge wires through it, and as you tighten this, it like squeezes the wires real hard. So that's going to be for our second pump. When this thing's gonna be ready to drop in, as long as it fits, it's gonna be a pretty tight package. And our fuel level sensor, I kind of messed this up. I hope I didn't screw it up. But the little tab kind of got bent. But it mounts up to this body here, so we'll still have fuel level, and everything else should work as it normally does. All right, so after trying a whole lot of different shit, this is the design I ended up with. I just got the pumps laying on their side. I know that's not the best way to do it, but I just didn't, everything I did was too tall, top to bottom. So I think this is okay. I just mangled my level sender so that it can occupy the same space as the pumps, and it's still gonna work. Like, that's zero fuel right there. So obviously it'll read empty a little early, which is what we want since our pickup's a little bit off the bottom now. And I think that's gonna work just fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to get it in the car. All right, so now we got a fuel filter installed. We're running our Dash 10 PTFE line. These are a proper 3-piece PTFE AN fittings. It goes up around the rack up here, or the steering shaft, up through, oh, okay, can't see shit. Up through there next to the intake, and up to the rail. Filters come back here. We're gonna try to fit this fat ass hose between the fuel tank and the body, and when we get up here, I'll show you the problem that we're gonna have doing that.
Yeah.
Bring her down, baby, bring her down. All right, so my 90-degree, after making all the altercations to my pump setup, it put my fitting a lot higher. So my 90-degree is sitting up way too high to actually go through the body like I wanted. So I just made a big loop here. Just have to, no passengers on this side until we can get it straightened out. I feel like an ass right here would probably ruin that. So a couple days have gone by since we got all the hardware side of things installed in Ursula for the staged fuel pump setup. We got it all gassed up, and we're running on just on the main pump after making all the changes that we made. The pumps are sitting like sideways on their side down in the tank. So actually at first we put 3 gallons in it, and it was still just barely running, choking for fuel. But I limped it to the gas station, filled the tank completely, and it was running great after that. Just on the single pump, we were making boost. I was getting into power a little bit. Not exactly sure how much boost it was making. I turned it way down when this all started acting up. So, but it felt very good. It wasn't acting up like it was in the morning. But I still had some wiring to figure out. We ran out of time at the shop. It got real late. So I just had to figure out some wiring. So I had preemptively wired up some circuitry for this using the old ABS relay in the front that we're no longer using since we don't have ABS anymore. And so now I ran the wire back to the pump. So I installed this connector to connect the body harness that I made to the engine harness that I made previously. And I had ran a brown wire to here from the ABS relay in there. So the ABS relay in that fuse block there is grounded out when our hob switch down here engages at about 4 PSI, energizes that relay, and it sends power to this little connector here. And that's where I stopped because I didn't have the staged pump set up at that time. So all I had to do is pin out one terminal for one side of this connector, and I just ran it with all my other harness down here through the bulkhead, under the trim, and back here to under the seat. And I tried it out and watched this fuel gauge. And you see the pressure come up. I can hear the pump come on. I hear the relay energize. So that's what's going to happen whenever we hit over 4 pounds of boost. Now, of course, the main pump will be running during that time too. So at that point, it will go into 2-pump mode, and we'll have all the fuel that we can handle. We're hoping to get to the track this weekend and see how it all does. We still got the map's all crazy. I got a bunch of rich spots now from where I was trying to kind of cover up a problem previously. So need to make a couple of passes just to kind of get some baseline numbers, start working on the fuel map a little bit. All right, so we are out here at I-30 Dragway, and we got Ursula, of course. Just went through the tune to make sure everything was good and safe. We're gonna be doing 8th-mile passes tonight, targeting about 20 PSI on this first pass. I've been doing all my testing at 18 or so, working on the map, and I think I got the map pretty well smoothed out, so it should do okay at 20 PSI. Kind of get a feel for it, see where the fuel system's at. As long as everything's safe, we're gonna keep turning it up tonight. I'm not sure how high we're gonna go with it, but we're gonna try to make a good pass. We got a few pounds of nitrous in the bottle, so we're in decent shape there. The car's really been using very little nitrous with the current dump valve setup that we have on it, so I think it'll be a good night to. So we'll make some passes in the car and see what it'll do. We got a whole gang of Mustang Mopar guys just pulled up, just street cars that maybe we can break some hearts in old Ursula tonight. But above all else, just try to see if we can get the car to go A to B and get a little quicker tonight.
Yeah, it's only on 20 right now.
So this is the next pass, and this is where we realize the car is not acting right and we have more to work on the fuel system. Well, we ran super lean. I'm guessing we're running too low on fuel. Oh boy. We got some fuel system shit to work out. Car is definitely not 100%. I'm back in the garage with Ursula once again, and kind of a lot has happened since I started filming this series of clips to make this video. As you saw previously, we are running 2 pumps in the tank. I continued to have issues after that. It seemed like it was going to be good with the staged pumps, running the hob switch, second pump coming on at 4 PSI, but the car was still running like trash, and I figured out I had a bad fuel pump, as I kind of suspected a while back. I don't know why I thought that problem had gone away, but I guess everything had just become so convoluted in my mind with adding the Hobb switch and the second pump and having two pumps, and when the second pump comes on, you see 60 psi on the fuel rail, regardless of what the regulator's doing. Regulator's not able to regulate that much fuel flow. Anyway, long story short, the car kept acting up, even with the second pump. It leaned out a whole bunch of times on me. It's a miracle that it's not blown up. If it's not, I mean, maybe it is. I'm not even sure. But it seems to be okay. So where we're at now is what I did. I wanted to get away from this Hobb switch. Honestly, I really like the idea of the Hobb switch and its function, but 4 PSI is way too early for me to have a second pump come on when I'm running two 450s. And this engine's not consuming that much fuel at 4 PSI. And I really don't want to go revamp the whole return system. You know, I could put a much larger return system on it so that it can regulate pressure still even with both pumps running. But I really don't want to go and redo all of that. So what I chose to do instead is actually take away a couple of features on the car in order to trade them for something else. So I had to get a fuel pressure sensor on this thing, because with all this fuel drama, I've never really been able to like see fuel pressure while I'm looking at data logs. You know, I have to hook an analog gauge up to it, go drive around, make the car lean out on purpose just for me to watch the gauge, instead of just going back and looking at a log and being like, oh, look, I ran out of fuel. So one thing we sacrificed was the two-step. I was not able to find any usable function for the two-step besides just making big loud engine pop noises for fun. The microscope will not allow you to get on two-step while the nitrous is enabled, so it was useless at the track. It wasn't making us any faster, so we ditched that because I needed that input in order to run a fuel pressure sensor. So I took the little gauge off my regulator and put a little 0 to 5 volt 0 to 100 psi sensor on there, and got it all wired up to the Megasquirt. And so now I am monitoring fuel pressure with the Megasquirt. So that was big. Then I went to drive it to work the other day with the new pump and with the fuel pressure sensor, and the car was like, it felt like it was misfiring. You know, it's kind of hard to explain. I could see that I had fuel pressure, so I knew I wasn't running into the same crap that I've been dealing with, but it was just like it sounded like a misfire. I mean, it was definitely a misfire, but it didn't sound like a normal like ignition spark plug kind of miss. Kind of had me worried that maybe I hurt the engine, just because you could really hear like a lot of flutter out of the exhaust. It sounded like lean pop, you know, when your engine starts to run lean and you start to get that like just kind of a poppy, like not loud, but like just kind of a putty sound. But my AFRs were good, so back to the drawing board. Like, okay, either the engine's broken, like I don't know what's going on. So right now we have that sensor in, and we are monitoring fuel pressure, and we have the new fuel pump. But still, I still don't like the 4 psi engagement of the second pump. I think that's a problem. I think we're basically deadheading one of or both of the pumps by doing that at too low of a fuel usage. So I went ahead and sacrificed another thing, which is the dump valve on the transmission. So we have been using a dump valve that we installed on our Turbo 400, controlled by the Megasquirt, to try to help stage at the line, bring up the RPMs higher so we can launch better. Last several times to the track, it really didn't seem to be necessary. I mean, really, I don't think we were gaining much using the dump valve. I don't think it was helping much. I think just the nitrous is really all we need to stage properly, that and the trans brake. So we ditched the dump valve, and I am instead controlling the auxiliary fuel pump with that. So I can make that fuel pump come on at a much higher boost load. So right now I have it set to about 15 PSI. I haven't driven the car yet, just now finished that up. I think I'm just gonna take it for a quick block, get a data log. I'm gonna need to adjust a ton on the fuel map for sure. But hopefully that'll be the end of this drama. Really, what I've got to take away from this is dual fuel pumps just really is not ideal. After talking with a couple of people, I seeked a little bit of help from my buddy Jason, who has that supercharged RX-7 that we run into at the track periodically. Also reached out to Derek with Slower Than You, his YouTube channel. He's helped me with a lot of things along the way too. And just really like having these discussions with these guys, running two pumps is not ideal. It's really been a much bigger pain than I had hoped. But I think at least for right now, I'm hoping to just get the car sorted so we can go out, run 25 pounds of boost, have plenty of fuel system, and have a little bit of fun in the meantime while I, try to hammer out some other stuff. But I'm gonna go ahead and just take it on a quick rip, get a data log, see how it runs. Without further ado, let's see how she's gonna do. We got some heat in her now. I already found it real rich in one spot. It's kind of doing it again. ended up finding on the breaking up issue on the Lexus is two of the fuel injectors were really restricted. I flow tested them on my little injector cleaner and they were all over the place. So all flowing very different. I ended up sending them to the guy I got them from. I got them from a company called Motorman Fuel Injectors. I can't remember how I heard about them. I think someone in the Z community told me about them, and they're pretty affordable compared to some other suppliers. They're 1200cc injectors, like a Bosch EV14 style injector, and I paid almost $700 for 6 of them. So I sent them back to him to have them gone through, thinking he could refurbish them and get them all flowing fine, and he couldn't for some reason. Apparently, that type of injector is not serviceable, can't be taken apart, and he, like I did, he tried flushing it forwards and backwards and doing all the cleaning to try to clear them out, and I couldn't get them back to normal. So after only about a year of use, I'm told that these injectors are trash and I need to buy another set. So that's really frustrating to find out. What I ended up doing is just taking the injectors that used to be in the car that are just some decapped LS2 injectors that I had for my old Corvette, and I put those back in the car. They're flowing around like 650, 700cc. So, they're okay, but I'm not gonna be able to make a whole lot of power with it. But that's fine because I still haven't figured out the fuel pressure thing. But what I did learn is evidently I was buying the Walbro 450 pumps I was buying were off of Amazon. And after going through and reading all the comments, they had like 4.5 out of 5 stars. So, I thought they were legit, but I went back and read through all the reviews, and it looks like it's probably a counterfeit part, a bootleg part. I think these pumps are counterfeited a lot, evidently, but everyone on there is saying they're fake. I think I'm just getting shitty pumps because no matter what, I've ran like 2 different Walbro 450s on this thing now, and totally different like relays, circuitry. I made a whole new circuit just because I kept running into this low pressure issue after the car would run for a little while. As the pumps heated up, they started giving me this issue. And I never could resolve it, so I finally decided, it's got to be the freaking pumps. Anyway, long story short, looks like I've been buying knockoff pumps, so definitely be aware of where you're getting your stuff from. But anyway, so Lexus needs a pump. It has injectors, but I'm done messing with the Lexus as of now, so we're going to kind of shift gears and move on to some new projects. So really getting excited to get back out to the racetrack. I feel really motivated to get moving on some things, so stay tuned for some more weekly videos coming at you. We definitely are going to be getting more stuff done and trying to get the cars, what we can to the cars to get them ready for racing this fall. But that's going to be it for today. So we'll catch you next time.